PTSD is a very particular kind of trauma. It's about there's been a large overwhelming experience or sequence of experiences through life, and the fight flight response that came up initially in that moment has been frozen in that basement. So there's all this fight flight energy that's stuck in the body, but because those are big feelings like rage and terror we're talking about, that can be, anytime you want to go get close to those feelings again, that can be overwhelming one more time. So it's like, it's very, very hard to get out of that because the nervous system doesn't have enough capacity to tolerate the release of those original emotions. And that's why life can feel unsafe most of the time, because the entire body is switched towards this response to threat. No matter where you are or what's going on, the body is picking up signs from the environment that is saying there is a threat here. There may not be an actual threat, but because the entire nervous system is switched towards keeping you safe in very particular ways, it won't switch that off. So here we are in a really heightened situation. We've all talked about this. There's an existential threat, which I said before. There isn't something concrete that you can place your attention on or that you can fight or run away from. It's all over the place. So your nervous system is going to be working overtime, saying there's threat, there's threat, there's threat. What it means is that your living area is much, much smaller at the moment. So it's going to take much less to push you out of your comfort zone, the zone where you're able to function in a more or less, I'm going to say in inverted commas, normal way. And you're going to be pushed into those extremes, into that anxiety space or into that shutdown space very quickly and very easily. So it's not surprising to me that there's brain fog, that there is a difficulty in focusing on the things that you want to do, on all those things that you're feeling. As we've all said before, these are normal ways of feeling within an abnormal situation. So how do you manage that when you can't do your normal self-care and your normal, the things that you might do to support yourself? If you're someone who goes outside, who needs to have some contact to help you to regulate, this can be a very, very challenging time because a lot of those coping mechanisms or regulating mechanisms have been taken away. So come back to really, really simple things. First thing is, at this time, let go of any idea of having to be productive and come straight into a feeling of what can you do to nurture yourself. Nurture, pleasure, comfort. This is your primary goal at the moment, because if we think about this on a larger level, if you're feeling a lot of anxiety and you're trying to push against that anxiety, you're just going to be adding to the general level of anxiety around you. So the best thing you can do to actually support the rest of the world and everyone is to look after yourself as much as you possibly can. So nurturing first. What does it mean to nurture yourself? People with a lot of PTSD in their system find it hard to nurture, to self-nurture, because the nervous system doesn't allow them. So we'll start in very, very simple ways. So I was going to come back to this when I spoke before. So five key ways that you can hack your nervous system. And they have the acronym MATES. So this has been created by friends of mine who are trauma therapists based in Sydney, Australia. So there's the whole Australian connotation of your mates, but these 5 keys can be they can be like life and death for you. They can be more than your mates. They can really save you. So what are the 5 keys of mates? So M stands for mind. So the first thing we want to do is notice that we might be keeping the most challenging things in our environment right at the forefront of our mind at the moment. So I think, as Ray was talking about before, the event that's going on around us is not something that you can change. But we have this wiring to do with our evolution called the negativity bias. And the negativity bias says that we have to keep our attention on the most challenging thing in our environment just in case it jumps out and tries to eat us. Because this whole situation is not physically there, it's been internalized, the bias going all the time, because we stay in the story. So in terms of the key of a way of supporting yourself, this key of mind is about how can you change your mind? How can you think about something that is going to help you to feel better? So have in your back pocket a helpful thought something that supports you to feel safe and calm. Helpful thoughts are your favorite person, your favorite place, your pet, your kids, your favorite food, an imaginary place, something that helps your nervous system just to relax. So that's something you can just pull into your mind when you really need it. When everything feels really overwhelming, remember to bring in that thought. What you can also do is from an active standpoint is you can change your mind by doing something, doing an activity, something that keeps your hands busy. So drawing or doodling, knitting or cooking, or something that will focus your attention away from this big existential threat that you can't do anything about. Channel it into doing something that you find enjoyable. And that can be very small and something in your home. So that's M for mind. Second one, the A of mates is air, all about breathing. I saw that there was a note down in the chat about breathing. So your breath is intimately connected with these two sides of the nervous system. When you breathe in, you're automatically more accelerated. When you breathe out, you're automatically more in that rest and digest part of the nervous system. So what we want to do as a key for us is if we breathe in through the nose, it means that we have to stop any kind of hyperventilating breath we might be doing if we're heading towards our attic. And we breathe out long through the mouth. What the rest and digest part of the nervous system looks for is a longer out breath to in breath. So you can really start to switch where you are in the nervous system and help calm yourself down just by changing the way you breathe. And there's lots of meditation apps, yoga practices, all sorts of different things that you can tap into to support you to do that if you find it difficult to do for yourself. Breathe in through the nose, longer out through the mouth. The T of mates is for tree, grounding. When we get stressed, when we go to our attic or our basement, we actually lose our feet because the wiring of stress is really from the diaphragm up. So if we can put our attention on the lower part of the body, we're switching our nervous system. So you can start the lower part of your body starts in your lower back and moves all the way down to your feet. So you can start literally by putting your hands on your kidneys. So you can all do that with me, or feeling the connection of your lower back against whatever support chair you have behind you, and just notice that. Just notice what that feeling is like, and take time for your body to feel that connection and allow that part of the nervous system to switch back on. Just going to give you a moment just to feel that. And as you feel that connection kicking in with the lower back, you can start to take it lower, take it down into the sit bones. Down into the thighs. And into the knees. Into the calf muscles. Into the ankles. And right down to that connection with your feet on the floor. Just notice what that changes in you. Notice what that does to your breathing. Breathe in through the nose. Let go through the mouth. And just notice for yourself how that feels. Big part of this as well is that when we are in that neurobiology of stress and of threat, everything speeds up. So time speeds up, space, you don't have much space around you. So really, this is an opportunity for us right now with not being able to go out, not being able to do the normal frenetic things that we do, to take some time and space and allow yourself to get back into your body. You might find that you start yawning a lot more. You might find that there are lots of kind of feelings in the body that start to come up. All that stuff's going on underneath your radar all the time. So that'll take us to our, so stay there, stay with the lower half of the body, stay with your breath, keep practicing that. And I'll talk about the E of mates, which is express. So express is really important because this is about sharing how you feel, saying out loud how you feel, whether it's just for yourself or for somebody that you care for and trust. When we say out loud how we feel, again, we have this opportunity of coming out of the story, out of the negativity bias, or as Ray was talking about, coming out of the event, and just come straight back into contact with the body and with the emotion. And when you notice that your body feels tight, or you feel anxious, or you feel whatever emotion it is that's coming up, name it. As soon as you name it, first of all, you're switching the neurobiology, you're switching that part of the brain back on, because this is social engagement, the ability to speak how you feel. But then as soon as you've spoken, as soon as you know how you feel, then you can do something about changing it. So it's acknowledging how you are, allowing yourself, giving yourself the permission to feel anxious, giving yourself permission to be afraid, giving yourself permission to be angry. All of those things are absolutely fine. Right now, in this moment, every single one of those emotions is absolutely valid. But unless we give ourselves the opportunity to actually feel it, we just stick it down inside the body and it will drive everything that we do. If we give ourselves some time to actually be in contact with the emotion, then it can shift, it can move through you and it can shift. And as soon as you know that there's an emotion, if you know that you're feeling loads of stress, if you know you're heading up to your attic, find your feet, come into your breathing, you can shift that pretty quickly with your nervous system. And here's a really nice thing you can do to nurture yourself while you are feeling those emotions. So bring your arms out in front of you, cross them over, put one hand on each shoulder, and then just like a butterfly, it's called the butterfly hug, just tap one shoulder and then the other shoulder. So what this does is that it crosses the midline of the brain, which then allows the neurobiology of safety to kick in, that's self-regulation. This will really help to calm your body. And while you're doing the butterfly hug, you can say your helpful thought for yourself, whatever your helpful thought is, whether it's, for me, it's the sea at Brighton. So that's usually when I think about looking at the pier and the sea, that's one of my helpful thoughts. So whatever your helpful thought is, lock it in as you express here with your butterfly hug. I'll give you all a moment to butterfly hug yourselves. And noticing how that feels. Which will lead us very nicely to the S of mates, which is stretch. So we notice that as we get more anxious, more angry, more stressed, the body becomes more tight. All the blood moves into the muscles, getting us ready to fight or flight. So we lose a lot of boundary. So what we want to do is to open up that space again. And we can start with something very, very small. If it feels difficult to move, just bring in a little bit of movement. I always say, like, wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, just as a starter. And you can do that nice and slow. It can be one finger if it feels like a lot to wiggle all your fingers. But you notice that as soon as you start one, the others start to join you. You can do a lot of you do your shadow puppetry. But as soon as you've got your fingers going, you can get your Dave's doing a whole lot of puppetry going on. Brilliant. You can get your hands going. You can get your elbows going. You can get your shoulders going. And you can properly stretch. Like, if you stretch now, we've been sitting in front of the screen for the last, what time is it, an hour and a half or something like that. Just notice that your body might want to move right now. So give yourself a stretch, allow yourself to do that. part of regulating, come back into the body, is moving again. So get up, walk around. As you walk around, feel your feet on the floor, notice your breathing, find out how you're feeling. All of those things start to work together. And the great thing about these 5 keys is that you don't need all of them, you just need one. Whichever one speaks to you, whichever one you can remember in the moment, is the gateway to all the others. Because all you need is to come in for the door from your attic or up from your basement, and then you've got access to your filing cabinet, you've got access to this part of your brain again. So you can then reach out to others, you can pull in any other information that you need. So if you are feeling really overwhelmed, bring it right back down to being in touch and contact with your body and how you feel. Give yourself as much time as you need. Let go of any expectation of doing anything else other than being with how you feel.